What is going on, guys? So I'm out today, about to do a little session with my guy Derek. He is rolling over to me just now. Here he is. What's going on, man?
What, dude? How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Good.
Welcome to the West Coast. Hey!
What's going on, bro? How are you? I'm
Great.
good. I'm just rolling this this
That's
camera.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna film a little session, so we'll get you guys into it when we're mic'd up and ready to go. All right, cool. So we're gonna run through I'd say some extensive stuff. I'm not ready to bounce too high. You said that you were pretty fatigued. You were giving it a session this morning, so we're gonna do some extensive stuff. And what I was thinking about playing with is doing some like long, extensive like bounds where we can just feel like nice and relaxed. And we might try and capture some like cool stuff where one of us like runs alongside whilst we film and stuff, so you can get like cool perspective. So yeah, we'll get into just a group of light tier movements. I'll be swinging the camera around a little bit just so you can get some good point of view. And yeah, we'll just spin the shit, start chatting about stuff, and yeah, I think you'll learn a lot, guys, just from observing what we're gonna do. Are you warm? Are you ready to go? Do you wanna do any other warm up bits, or should you just
be fine?
Yeah, get bouncing. Yeah. Cool. So let's go. Let's just go like 10 light leaps. So just like
Cool.
It was weird. Like I did a session on the Monday session where I did like I tried to get back into doing some plyos. Did like a live session with our Plyos community.
Yeah.
And felt really good. And then went into the gym yesterday just to film a bit of content. Of course, I didn't warm up. Started just doing some deep test stuff. Come back, I was like, my left Achilles is sore. And I'm like, oh, God's sakes, like,
Dude,
think.
I have not had that yet, and I'm not trying to have that.
But it feels all right now. It feels all right. Right, let's go. Let's do like a basic split exchange. Again, keeping it super light. You'll notice the track athlete in Derek as well. If you're observing us side by side, we see that we both got a little track in us.
A little bit
of track. Tell them what you did in track. So you high jumped, right? Did a little high jump.
So high jumper, long jumper, and triple jumper. I tried to cut back on how much I would triple jump just because I felt like it broke my body down too much. I didn't start hurdling until high school, but I also competed D1 for Fresno State.
Yep.
So I did both hurdles, the 3 jumps, and then I did decathlon. Makes
sense, right?
Yeah.
Comes hand in hand.
Yes.
Comes hand in hand. Yeah, and I put up I don't know if did you see the video of the guy coming off the hurdle that I put up, where he like lands on like a perfectly like 4-foot position and just pivots over the top with his lead leg over the hurdle. I got like I put like, is there a stretch shortening cycle happening here, or is the calf like isometrically contracting whilst the tendon gets a little pull? It's just fascinating to watch how at that speed, like it's David King, he's a British hurdler, like leg whips out and then whips down for you to drag that trail leg through, right? The speed and velocity you need to do that, like there is no time for you to put your whole foot on the ground.
At all.
Yeah. And people got a lot to learn from hurdles. You watch world-class hurdling and they can't even use like a full stride. You watch, there's a French guy, Pascal Martinot-Lagarde. He's like 6'4", 6'5". There's only 3 strides in between the hurdles, obviously, at the 110. And he's like stutter stepping in between. And it's just so fascinating how like we have a lot of like preconceived thoughts, like, oh, this is how to run like perfectly. And you're like, absolutely. People are amazingly clever at the way they figure stuff out.
They are, yeah. So it was weird for me when I was learning how to hurdle. So I actually competed better with 42-inch hurdles than I did 39. And I'm small, right? So you would think that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have long legs compared to my torso. So going over 42 felt way more natural than the height of a 39. It just felt like I was clearing it by way too much. Like I was getting too much air underneath myself.
Yeah.
So going through a 42, just, I don't know.
And it probably, I think a lot of people get it twisted with like the up and down motion in hurdles.
Yeah.
When a 42 is going to make you stand up the whole time. So you, like the whole time you're just dum running tall, dum. Whereas the other ones you can be lazy with it and you start to clear it and you're I know the vibe. I know the vibe there. It's so interesting. It's like it's mind-boggling at a certain stage, and then you get to it and you're like, oh, actually, this just feels cleaner at a higher height.
Right.
Cool. Let's go. I want to just do some lateral stuff. So let's do 10 leaps laterally, and then we'll come back the other way.
Cool.
Use a lot of lateral leaps sometimes, Derek, when people do have like Achilles soreness. It's interesting because I spoke to a few people about this, but we get so much work where people focus on like this just basic linear movement.
Agreed.
But like lateral medial sides of like gastroc, how the soleus like stabilizes and stuff, sometimes it's so like, I don't know what it is. It's therapeutic. I've done it from like a baseline of using like, I'll put like a book on a towel and I'll just pull the towel across, and just the lower leg contraction that you get from that, and then moving to this, like this, I don't know, I get that same sensation.
So I actually had a few patients with Achilles tendonitis that I worked with, and I used a lot of lateral stuff.
Yeah.
And I would kind of build it out, because like you said before, going back and forth, you get a lot of that motion, but I would move laterally and then eventually work and change the degree angle. So eventually you're getting more and more intense, right? So from going sideways to now I'm changing, like if we're gonna start twisting in the air and loading the Achilles a bit differently. And so over time, it's like, oh, this doesn't really bother me anymore. I don't really notice this. And then you just see them moving a lot better with less pain. Yeah,
that's cool. It's so cool. Like certain things you're like, I'll end up just playing with stuff, and I'm like, oh, this works.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. That's a cool part
I had a lot
of
of success with that, so I was really happy with it.
Right, let's go 10 the other way. We'll do some bounds towards the camera. Again, just keep it super light. That's all I'm going to do anyway. We'll ramp up gradually into some more dynamic stuff. How's body feeling?
Good.
Been all right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel all right.
What did you get after this morning? What killed you?
It was a HIIT class.
Oh shit.
So there's all kinds of stuff mixed in. And they're like, push it, 40-second sprints on like a curved treadmill. I'm like, what?
Come on.
I'm like, what?
Be kind to these people. Come
what
on.
is that?
Cool, let's do a little hop step. So left, right, left, right, just continuous.
Okay.
All right. It's nice to observe front on for guys having a look at position of us in terms of like stacking the body well. Are we like lurching heavily, like side to side? That's like a big thing. So if you ever want to see what you're doing front on with like single leg work, it's so important to see this angle. If you're filming, if you're a coach, you're looking at stuff, you'll see so much like tilt here if someone's like trying to really protect the leg. You ever felt like that? You haven't hopped in a while and you feel like you're like over the leg so heavily.
Absolutely.
You know about that in the triple, dude.
Yeah.
You're like, please don't come down hard. Right? Or you haven't done it in a while, right? And you're getting back into it and you come in, you're like, this is too many strides, this is too fast.
That's how it feels when you make it to the finals. You're like, damn, I got 3 more? Like, you sure?
Yeah.
Can you measure that right?
That comes in with fatigue, right? You ever get that where it's like, you start to protect a lot?
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
So again, like,
Absolutely.
that's a nice, I guess like self-prescribed way of like assessing fatigue in a session. If you've got hops towards the back end of a session and you get into a set and you're like, geez, I'm like so hunched over like that right leg whilst I'm trying to hop. That could be like a protective mechanism for you to be like, we're not ready for this.
And other times where I've noticed that is long games of basketball.
Yes.
Going up and attacking. And same thing for
Yeah.
high jump. You get into
Yeah.
it and then you start feeling flat. You're loading on that side.
Yes.
You don't have any pop off the ground.
Exactly. Yeah, and you land to, or you put your foot down to take off and you're already here.
Yeah.
Like you're in a crap position to try and get out of. Whereas like all the dynamic stuff, you want to be like so tall and over the top of it, but if you're not about it, man, you're just gonna sit on it and be like, just spend more time on the floor, please. All right, cool. Let's go. I want to just do one more bounding option where we're going to do a little crossover bound.
Perfect.
All right. So this would be nice front on as well.
It's funny, I'm trying to match your stride length, but you know,
I'll
figure it out. No. I know I don't, but I like the rhythm of it.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah. Once
like,
you get
and not to reach, just for the rhythm aspect
just
of
the
it.
rhythm, like the quality of landing. Yeah, exactly. Nice. There you go.
I'm tired.
Yeah, that's some high rep stuff. But yeah, so Derek was asking me, he was like, I want you to critique me, like tell me like what you're looking at, what we're looking for when we're doing this sort of stuff. And I think, oh, it's tracking me. And I think that like a big thing is, I think you've got like a great extension point out the back, and like great extension out of, just out of backside mechanics and stuff. But I think maybe like a slight missing component is then relaxing that to a level where like, it's just relaxing that to a level where you're not holding that back for too long, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And just feeling comfortable for that to be like, you have that fast extension out the back and then it kind of relaxes and then it's ready to climb through and then attack underneath. Because you'll pause and hold, and then sometimes you'll see a couple where you're like, you've got to whip the leg through real quick to get it back down.
Right.
I don't know if that resonates with how that feels.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think for me too, I feel really low.
Yes.
But it's that extension part out of the backside where I'm noticing that.
Which maybe doesn't give you the height.
Right.
It's like push rather than like a push and a climb.
Right.
Which is cool. So we'll run it back where I'll go.
Yep.
And we'll play. We'll have a look at the footage as well, and then we can talk about that on camera after we've had a little check of what you were doing.
Sweet.
Cool.
So it's applying a little bit more pressure into the ground, but also knowing by then it's like, okay, I'm getting tired. So
that's like a fine balance then that you're playing with like sensation over fatigue and
But I mean that's a whole part of the process, right? It's what does this feel like? Where am I low? What is my power like off of the ground? So I don't know, a bunch of what's my foot placement like? Like you were saying, am I having to whip the leg quick to come back through versus relaxing a bit more? Which that's going to play into fatigue. So
and it becomes like there's also context here that I wanted us to do some of those like longer reps. Just aesthetically, it's pretty nice, but also to play around with showing you, if you were trying to work on quality of movement here, it would be that you wouldn't be using that long of a rep to find those qualities, because you can see where you get a diminishing return. Like you could have told me where that fall off was, right? And you'd have been like, yeah, that's enough. I know that the wheels are falling off a little bit here. I know that fatigue is causing too much of a detriment on what I'm trying to achieve. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, my body wasn't ready for that.
I was going to say, how'd that feel?
I felt like I was getting some of your sensations. I don't know how that looked, but I could feel like I'm trying to achieve that feeling by like push, rather than me being able to actively like pull Felt big back end, like get me through this.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling like a cross country skier, like push, push. And there is a level to that, but there's also like, yeah, I felt like I just did here a little bit too much.
Same. Yeah, I felt very much like a gazelle. They're graceful, but
yeah,
I mean, you know,
yeah, it's
not for what I wanted here.
Yeah. Well, I think we do a second set. I don't want to do too many more of those, but
cool.
And then we can get some, just movement to or set to set kind of differences, maybe in how we have adjusted things. Probably the same for you, but for me, it was just like, right, let's just get through this and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Second set is like, okay, now how can we improve this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. How'd that feel?
Felt okay. Felt a little. I still felt the same thing in the beginning, but
yeah,
I don't know. I felt a little bit better.
I thought you looked nicer. You had like a lift to your foot.
Yeah.
So like you'd punch out the back, and then you'd have this almost like you were lifting like the top of your foot through, so it could whip back down a bit nicer. And I think like halfway through, I noticed that you were holding your breath a little. Yeah. Which is a great indication of just stress and duress on the body, like, and obviously because we're doing such long reps, that's probably why it sets in. I'm big for it. I'm like, I hold my breath at the wrong time, man. I'm just tighten up, hold my breath. I like puff my cheeks out. I'm like, and it, yeah.
Well,
It's
I had to remind myself, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, because I'm holding my breath. I gotta relax. But same thing for sprinting.
Yeah.
People get really tight in the face, works its way down, travels its way down.
Exactly.
It doesn't help any of your movement because you're not really relaxed.
No.
Same thing applies here. It's just, I guess I'm not used to holding my breath jumping.
Yeah.
Doing any sort of plyos, I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
So that for me was a weird reminder of, oh yeah, you got to breathe.
Yeah.
Whereas in sprinting, I notice it right away.
Yeah. And it must be because of the amount of, like there's so many more contacts when you sprint. So it becomes like I can feel like 4 or 5 contacts in a row where it's like, oh, that's so tense and I need to relax. But you're taking probably half the amount of steps here as to what you would do when you're sprinting. And it's like, oh, I've got more airtime here. But if I hold my breath in those long pieces of airtime, then it's like, shit, that's so much tension. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one to compare like the sprinting side of things to the plyo side of things, because you have more time to reset in the air with the plyo, right? Especially with bounding like that. So I know you don't have much time, but you've got a lot more time than you do when you sprint, right? Your legs are always on the floor when you sprint. So, so yeah, cool. I'm going to run through my second set here, and we'll do a little feedback on that. 3, 2, 1. Relax, relax, relax. Oh. Whew. Okay, that set felt better, but to a certain degree, like I'd say just before the 18-yard box of this football pitch, soccer pitch, I started to feel like I'm like so dumped forward with my hips where I'm like extending through the whole of my spine just to maintain that velocity. But hey ho, it felt pretty nice. Lower leg felt better on that one. Just felt fatigued on the first set. Maybe I just wasn't ready for that level of volume for it, but I don't know what you observed. Any differences?
I'm gonna be completely honest, I was more so focused.
You're chasing that again, but I told you, Derek, it's fine, it's gonna keep us there.
I apologize, I was trying to watch. I did see some steps, but
yeah, I mean,
not enough fresh in my brain to compare to the
yeah, I mean so let's talk about your last set as well. What did we see like in terms of differences there? What was big that you spotted with your last set?
A few things. So hip flexion was better, height was better. and then foot bringing it through and attacking the ground was better.
Yeah.
For at least a large portion of it. I know that
Yeah.
in the beginning I started off very much so like the first round.
Yeah.
And then, but after paying attention to that and trying to adjust,
Yeah.
felt a little better until I got winded. But
yeah, yeah,
that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Is to
Yeah.
test things out.
Play and tweak those little bits. I think as well, like a big thing that I think I noticed with my second set is that I should have just taken. I'd be intrigued in the next couple of weeks if we played with this and we took more speed into it. So it would be about like maintaining speed and maintaining velocity rather than like trying to build it, then maintain it. So maybe that's like the progression in like 3 or 4 weeks time. We start to carry like a little bit more velocity. So like right now we've been using like maybe 5 yards into like a line here and then traveling 60, 70 yards. So yeah, I'd be super intrigued to see how that changes things. So I'm gonna have a little review of mine now and we'll jump back on. So just looking back at my last set, was super interesting. I've not mentioned it at all to Derek yet, but what I've just noticed that I don't think I've ever noticed before in my life of doing plyos is that I am focusing a larger sweeping action for my double arm shift on my right side as opposed to my left side. So my left side is like a real short gather and punch, whereas the right side I feel like I'm trying to do more work to maybe contribute more force into it, which is interesting. I've never, because I'm like, what's that weird asymmetrical pattern where I'm like, left is quick, right is long, left is quick, right is long. Now it kind of makes sense to me because my right leg is my non-dom leg. So I'm going to be trying to contribute force to keep that rhythm left to right and that pattern and feeling and stuff. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know.
So
anything else on that?
Well, for me, I'm wondering if that's relative to the first round where I was mentioning your pull through on the right and how snappy you are on the right is different compared to the left.
Yeah.
So maybe more time to gather.
More time to gather, and it's maybe just a greater impulse when like the hands gather and then come to the hip. You hit that like isometric point in the stride. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. All right, cool. Let's. Any other points on some of the stuff that we've been going over with the longer stuff? Other than that, we'll maybe do like a couple deep tier movements.
No, but actually, it's a question for you because I know that usually when I get into longer form things like this, and it's usually with bounding.
Yeah.
That's when, and not so much now, but that's when every now and again I'll start feeling it through the shins. Interesting. You feeling it now? No. I think that it probably becomes, especially with longer form stuff, it becomes that we're finding it easy to just maintain velocity, so we get lazy with how we like activate the lower leg. So I often see that with people. If you will see if you were able to measure each ground contact as to when fatigue may creep in, and you'll see that immediately with how ground contacts would significantly increase. But I wonder that sometimes. I wonder if there's like a lack of activation, lack of stiffness around the foot, and whether that's changing how you're kind of just slamming your foot into the ground, as opposed to it being a lot stiffer, so you can pivot off of it faster. And then ultimately, I know there's high stress in a given section, but you're not hanging on to that stress, and it's not then kind of reverberating up the leg. Yeah, and I know that going through here, and part of why I bring that up too is I know that some of my steps, speaking of ground contact time, I can feel some of my steps being off, especially like when I'm holding my breath.
Yeah.
I can notice I'm spending a little bit more time on that side than this side, or on that step. It took me a little bit longer just to get out of it.
Makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's kind of where I would look at it then. Definitely, it's seeing where that quality kind of completely diminishes. So like I wouldn't then take us through too many of these longer sets, and I'd work on, maybe it would be kind of half the distance that we're working at and just working on good quality movement there. All right, as always, we're gonna finish up with some deep tier plyos. We'll go this way, Derek. So. All right, cool. let's just start nice and basic. We'll do like a split stance leap. Let's do 8, change sides. Actually, let's do 8 forward, we'll walk back, do 8 on the other side and come forward towards camp. Yeah, we'll stay in this position. So just drop down and up. Woo. I can tell I did some examples yesterday. A glute, front foot. Hoping this side will be a bit nicer. So big focus for everyone that's trying to do this. Think how you can centrally stack your body in a vertical position. Don't drop too much with your chest. If your chest is getting too close to your thigh, set a wider base. Normally everyone sets a too narrow a base, okay? So I want to see you drop down into it. I could hold a bowl of soup here if I wanted to, right? Can I control that? And it's obviously all about being able to control the yield, but once you get used to it, once you start figuring that out, it makes a huge difference. You can just start to relax into it. Yeah, go for a set.
And the other part that's big too is just pay attention to the foot. I see a lot of people who will drop the foot as soon as they come off the ground.
Yeah.
So you paid attention to him a second ago.
Yeah.
You see each time he's going right into dorsiflexion of the foot.
Yeah. Oh, you have to. You've got to be able to keep that good stacked base. Good. Good. Nice. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You know, we'll let you off, bro. You did the session you did this morning. Like I'm far fresher than you are. All right, cool. Let's go. What I'd like to do is I'd like to do a little bit of lateral leaping. I'm going to do what I call them gorilla leaps. I've inherited the word from Eric, my mentor. But we're going to touch the ground as we drop down and then leap again. So I'll give you an example. We'll go forward and backwards. Yeah, so you're going to drop down. Again, trying to hunch over too much, trying to keep that chest relatively up, but just that little touch gives you a great focal point of how deep you need to go. If you feel like you're stretching over into that position, you probably don't have the mobility to then drop that much deeper into a squat anyway. So it's nice. If you're here and you're not able actually to touch the ground, then it could be a mobility thing. It could be you don't have the strength to drop into that yield. But I love them. Oh, let's go the other way. So we face the camera. Woo! Anyone that says that deep tier isn't metabolic in any form, you're lying. This gets you breathing, this gets you working. Seriously. And again, the more you put out of it, the more you're going to get out of it metabolically as well. Oh, that is annihilating them hips. I don't know about you, but I feel that so much hip crease fatigue. Yeah. Let's go hurdle. Yeah. If we actually got you over some hurdles, you'd be telling me differently. You'd be like, oh no.
Hit the first one.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
When was the last time we went over hurdles?
Ooh. 2 years.
Okay, not bad. All right. I was wondering if you're going to be 7 years ago.
No. I was with my niece.
Nice.
Running, I was working with her on some drills.
Yeah.
And she crushed them, by the way. I was so impressed. But anyway, I set up a hurdle. I'm like, how's this gonna feel? So I was doing a bunch of hurdle starts.
Yeah.
Felt good.
Nice.
I still need work, but it felt good.
It felt good. Hey, maybe that's content. Bro. Getting back into hurdles.
Down.
Yeah. Me, not the last time I went over hurdles. We're talking, 12 years ago. 12 years ago. And I wasn't great at hurdles then.
I was injured at one point.
Yeah.
And it's just a funny story.
Yeah.
I was injured at one point and I couldn't practice with the team.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing therapists outside of our team.
Yeah.
Had to, it was sartorius tear. But I still wanted to practice
Yeah.
Because I still had my mindset on competing.
Yeah.
And so the only time I could go out there was when they were off field, which is nighttime. So I'm at Fresno State in the dark because sometimes the lights wouldn't stay on, and I was hurdling in the dark.
The
so you
trust,
want to get good
bro.
at 400-meter hurdles.
Hurdle in the dark.
Hurdle in the dark, yeah. Like, I don't recommend that for everybody. But
the stride pattern,
must
have been beautiful.
You have to realize where your timing is,
yeah.
what steps you're at, how you're going over, the height of it. Like, you really have
how much to push, how to relax. Amazing. You know, it's funny because Eric used to say that you should get to a certain point in your high jumping season where, let's say you're in like the middle of the season where you should be able to high jump blindfolded. Yeah. Like you should have done that many repetitions. You should have that much of a sensation of where things are. Yeah. Again, don't recommend it, but yeah, it's fascinating to think that your body probably could do a lot of the things that you're like massively in fear of when it comes to losing that that visual sense. So yeah, that's cool though.
Yeah, a big part for me too is if my steps were a little bit off. Now, I never failed, but every now and again I'd clip a hurdle. I knew that somewhere in the beginning maybe I didn't push off as much on the start.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of acceleration.
Yeah.
Issue going on where maybe just my steps were a little bit off, my timing was a little bit off.
Yeah.
Okay, rest up, run it back.
Yeah.
But I got pretty damn good at it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's just reps.
Yeah,
reps.
repetition, feeling.
But I think that also training like that and all the stuff that I did then and maintaining it, I mean, it's what helps me here now. I won't always get it right.
Yeah.
But at least I'm looking for different things, or if something feels a certain way, it's like, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
Then I can go back.
Yeah. I think we track athletes take for granted how good we are sensationally and how well we can take sensations and feelings out of something and be like, that's why that didn't work. I know that rhythm was off there. And I think it's a big thing that if you have never done track, say you're a high school athlete, play with some track, get into doing some track events just for you to understand your body to like an nth degree. Because so many other field athletes base a lot of their results on what's happening with the ball or what's happening with the result in which you're doing it. But we don't have that. Our tactical awareness is on every feeling that we get and every step that we have. Yeah. So it's, yeah, man, I appreciate it, everyone. Right, give me one more movement for a deep two. Anything you want. Okay, not anything, but you know. You want to do some leaps, you want to do some split stance stuff, you want to do some split exchanging, you want to do anything laterally, you want to do something backwards. We're just spinning it today, having some fun.
Ooh, let's go. You know what? I never do anything backwards.
All right, let's do it. What do you want to do?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to.
You want to do a split stance backwards? Split stance is nice backwards because that back leg is going to get an enormous amount of work. Let's do it that way so we can come still facing the cam. So yeah, we'll go like 8 reps backwards. So big thing here, again, keeping posture relatively good because you're going to want to push off that front leg. So it's not about distance at all, it's about just taking it through those reps and just getting gradual progressions backwards. All right, cool, let's rock and roll, see what it's like. Medial knee fatigue. Hey. I was getting that nice. I was getting that front glute, medial knee. Check that's on my car. It might be. Who knows? All right, cool. You come this side. Cool. Same again. Yeah. What were you? Any like feelings and sensations that you got then? Like I had a couple that I was like, I tried to correct a little.
Yeah. On one part, leaning to the right.
Okay.
And I think some of that just has to do with how far my back leg is going out.
Yeah.
So just paying attention to that and
yeah.
Because that's gonna put me in a weird like internal rotation coming down on the lean.
Yeah.
So just trying to correct for that, and then not overcorrecting so that I'm getting into so much hinge in the front, especially with pushing back, that I'm dropping down.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, where my
yeah.
is gonna come down.
Yeah. I had a couple of those landings, and from that, I had like a push off the toe, and it felt like bizarre that it was coming off like this. and I feel like I needed to push a little bit more off my heel so I could get extension in a taller position. Because I think when I was there, I was like, I'm trying to get everything out of that like ankle, rather than, because I know that if I hinge too much from here, I'm going to be over rotating backwards. So that's interesting. Let's go the other side and see if we can just at least control what we're trying to do. Could be another thing with fatigue. Ooh. Yeah.
I felt one of exactly what you just talked about at the end.
Just that weird, like,
Yeah.
it's strange, right? It's just strange how, yeah. That's the beauty of like, when people talk to me like, oh, you don't use many like one-off depth jumps. I hope that's not my car, man. If it is, it is.
Pretty safe part.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Stay away. But yeah, when I get a question about like, oh, you don't use that many depth jumps or like one-off efforts, and I'm like, it's because we have so many more chances to get things right and to figure stuff out when we move. You do like a big one-off effort and you're like, fuck, I missed it.
So I want to piggyback off of that, because I'll see a lot of patients who will respond with either the same thing, except, well, they won't bring it up. They'll do whatever it is, and then they'll turn and look for me. For my feedback. Keep going. Learn from that and keep going. And it doesn't matter if it's like either a patient of mine or if it's a young athlete, especially that's probably who I see it primarily with. But it's the part of, like, if you make a mistake while you're doing any of these movements, that's good news for me.
Oh yeah.
Because you're learning so much from that. So I never look at it as a big negative of, oh, you got this wrong. Awesome. That's feedback for you to then make adjustments the next time and do it better.
Yeah, because you're problem solving then.
Yeah.
Because we can say, okay, well, in the reps that you didn't feel it and you did get it right, what did you do? Like I can't comprehend what I did then. Okay, cool. Let's go again. Now, if you're doing a negative rep or a poor rep, whatever you want to call it, and then you do a couple good ones, you're like, okay, now I know what I'm finding. I'm finding that my center of mass is too far forward. Or like we mentioned, like you're too much internally rotating to your hip, hinging too much. And yeah, like that feedback loop has to come from you learning in, I think, multiple reps and just like one-off efforts. There's obviously a time and a place for it, but if you're trying to learn, you're trying to figure stuff out, hell no.
And if I'm like new working with someone, I want to see multiple repetitions of it. If I'm just seeing a one and it maybe doesn't look the best, and then you're looking for me, it's like, no, but what does it look like continuously? What would this actually look like if we're playing it out? Even if it's slowed down, even if it's in a controlled environment, what am I looking at here? Because that sample size of just the one, I mean, for me, it's not enough.
It's not enough for anyone.
Right.
Like, I think so. And saying as well, like, we're talking about people that are learning. Like, I haven't been doing many Plyos sessions recently, and you might see me as someone that is not a learner and is maybe not a beginner, but in every given scenario, if you tend to spend a little bit of time out of it, there's a relearning sequence that, like, I'm going to spend the next month figuring stuff out. So you're constantly on this swing of like going up and down. You spend a little, say you're going back to your season, you're going to do less Plyos. When you come back to it, there's going to be a learning period. Coming back from rehab, like to the nth degree, like it's like tenfold. But yeah, it's keep finding those situations where you're learning more. Keep finding, you know, what am I doing right here? What am I doing wrong here? How can I improve what I'm trying to do? And how does it ultimately feed like a larger performance ceiling and not like constantly trying to chase like max output? Because like the broader spectrum of us like figuring stuff out in the deep tier, it's going to feed the higher stuff eventually.
And chasing perfection.
Yeah.
We're all built differently.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for that perfect rep every single time, I mean, it
becomes mechanical, right?
Yeah.
That you lose that.
Fluid,
you lose that flow. Yeah.
Lose that rhythm,
All right. Cool, man. Good session.
Yeah.
Gonna be doing more of it. Appreciate you guys that are watching and listening. Yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.